Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS Hockey Report. It is another Zachless DFO DFS Hockey Report. I will be rolling at this one solo again today, and we've got a 10-game slate, some massive contests on DK tonight. So best of luck to all of you out there participating. And yeah, hopefully somebody here can win the 100K tonight. And best of luck. Here we go. We've got, obviously, if you're not in the big contest tonight, it's fine. You can still tag along here and try to win some dough. I just want to start with something before I get going here. Let me go. Okay. So I recently today, as of today, I added the charts. So if you're new to the show and you're not in the DFO DFS Discord, you can access the charts that we are going to watch on today's show or go through today's show through the description of the video on YouTube. So again, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, you can follow along there if you would like. Whatever you want is first here. Thanks for showing up. Let's get into a 10-game slate on tonight. On our hands tonight, we've got, let's go through the goalies here first. We got Joseph Woll going for the Toronto Maple Leafs, likely going to see UPL for the Sabres. Unclear who starts the Bruins and the Predators. Second half of back-to-back for the Bruins, so almost certainly going to be Jeremy Swayman. Projecting to see UC Saros for the Preds. It'll be John Gibson for the Detroit Red Wings. Anton Forsberg gets the nod for the Kings. Sergei Bobrovsky will go for the Florida Panthers, projecting to see former Panther, won a Stanley Cup with them last year. Vitek Vanacek getting the start. The second half will be back-to-back for the Utah Mammoth. It's going to be Jakub Dobish in net for the Montreal Canadiens, projecting to see Aiden Hill for the Vegas Golden Knights. Jake Allen will go for the New Jersey Devils, confirmed 4 days ago, likely going to see Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets. The Blues will go with Jordan Binnington. It's going to be Jake Oettinger for the Dallas Stars. Jesper Wallstedt gets the nod for the Minnesota Wild. The Chicago Blackhawks will counter with Spencer Knight this evening. Kevin Lankinen goes for the Vancouver Canucks, going to see Yaroslav Askarov for the San Jose Sharks. And then finally, we've got Philip Grubauer likely to get the nod for the Seattle Kraken. Unclear who starts for Washington, but we are projecting to see Logan Thompson. Vanacek's last win was October 26th. Yeah. Due would be an understatement. Also, apologize for my look today. Just threw this hat on as I was running downstairs. I low-key look like I am like a prisoner. It looks like I have been arrested and I am serving time in a penitentiary. I'm not. I am still at my home, but that's exactly what I look like. I look like I'm on an episode of Prison Break. Let's get into it. The Toronto Maple Leafs will host the Buffalo Sabres. That's where we will get our start. The Leafs are minus 116 home favorites here, so basically a coin flip with a little bit of home ice advantage. The Leafs still struggling, really. To be honest with you, the offensive metrics are pretty bad. The defensive metrics are awful. The Sabres have struggled a little bit defensively and then kind of have come back to the pack a little bit offensively as well. It's just called the dad look. Yeah, that's fair. When in doubt. Let's too many entries today. Could not afford the heating bill. It is quite cold here. No excuses though for this look. Let's get into it. Austin Matthews is where we'll start on this one. Obviously, he's played a lot better as of late. Seeing a very healthy 17.8% ownership, which is pretty considerable when on a 10-game slate. He is our highest projected forward of the night. There is massive ownership coming in on about a handful of guys tonight. Kaprizov at 9,200 against the Blackhawks. Matthews 9,400 against the Sabres. Pasternak at 9K, and then Celebrini at 14% and $9,500. A lot of ownership coming in there, which is pretty surprising on this big of a slate. But without some of the McDavid's or McKinnon's or Kucherov's on this slate, there's a little bit more salary to go around here, and it's a little bit easier to click on a $9,400 Matthews than it is a $10,500 McDavid in this one. So, yeah, it's interesting to see 17%, given kind of how poor the Maple Leafs have played of late. Matchup-wise, just a slightly above average here for Toronto 1. I will say that them going back to this line in terms of Domi and McMahon with Matthews has worked a lot better than what they went with last game. So that makes me feel a little bit better about that Matthews chalk tonight. Again, the matchup is nothing amazing by any stretch, but it's not too bad. Obviously, the overall weighted team ratings, which puts a lot of emphasis on the last month, last couple weeks of play as opposed to the entirety of the season like the Wowies do, paint a picture of a Sabres team that's not necessarily great defensively. So I don't mind getting to some of that top line. I don't, love the chalk of Matthews here, but I do like McMahon up there. I think that's a pretty viable mini stack tonight. I really don't have a lot of interest in stacking Toronto too. Their matchup is better. Their underlying metrics are okay. They're just not converting, which isn't really surprising, right? Like Michelli, not much of a shooter. Tavares, 5,800 is somewhat appealing. Nyes just has not been the same player. He's certainly not 100% right now. $4,400. I don't feel great about Toronto 2 tonight. So I probably won't play a ton of the Leafs, to be honest. I'll get to some McMahon. I'll get to some Matthews. On the Sabre side of things, man, like it's tough. This top line grades out really well in terms of their matchup score. The underlying metrics, though, are just awful with this trio. The underlying metrics very good for the second and third line, but their matchups aren't very good. I think we've talked about it a lot here. It is difficult to really pinpoint exactly which one of these Sabres lines is going to go off. And I think like with the matchup, you want it to be Thompson and Tuck, but for some reason, Benson Thompson Tuck has just not worked. So I don't know how much I'm going to get to Buffalo 1. I like the matchup, right? They're going to see a lot of the Matthews line. That Matthews line, that iteration of the Matthews line has not been very good defensively. They've not been terrible, though. They've just given up a lot of goals. So with these underlying metrics, I don't think Buffalo 1's necessarily an amazing play tonight. They grade out like 33rd. So at 18,400, 33rd on the rent charts is not great. These second and third lines, I am a little interested in this third line. Their matchup's pretty solid. They're going to see basically like 50% of the ice time against the top six and 35% against the fourth line. Fourth line's struggled. Top line struggled. Underlying metrics for this rookie line have been really, really solid. Now, the sample is a little funky because, like, obviously they haven't played together a ton. It's kind of a hodgepodge of a sample. But, I mean, if you're looking for a value line tonight, Josh Doan's obviously a little bit more expensive at 5,200, but Oslin's looked good at 3,200, and Halinas has looked pretty good as well, 3,100. He's come up, and what has he got? Let me pull up his stats here really quickly. I think he's got a goal and 3 assists or something like that. Helenis has got a goal, 3 assists, 7 shots, 11 shot attempts, 2 blocks. I think they're an interesting value option tonight. I think the Leafs, like we said here at the top, not very good defensively, not good on the PK. Like they are gettable, obviously. So I do want to find a way to get to the Sabres tonight. It just that top line scares me with those underlying metrics. Oslin on the top power play unit, Helenis not really seen any power play time. Doan on that top power play unit. So I think that's kind of an interesting line to target tonight. Obviously, the power play matchup not great for them. They're just not very good on the PK or on the power play. But I do think that Doan, Oslin, and Helenis are an interesting value option tonight at very little ownership. So, yeah, I don't mind kind of looking there this evening. Let's get to game number 2, Boston and Nashville. So, off the top, I mentioned that Pasta is going to draw a lot of ownership. That line obviously did wonders yesterday. I mentioned it on the show that I liked Boston 1 as a high upside line. They came through. I liked the second line as a strong value option. They did absolutely nothing. Arvidsson had 0 shots. It's like the first time, I think, all season, of course. I feel somewhat similar tonight, although the matchups are significantly worse. And this is kind of interesting, right? You've got the Predators, who don't grade out as like a defensive powerhouse by any stretch, 18th best in terms of the weighted team ratings. But man, the Wowies paint an entirely different picture. Just outstanding defensive metrics for this lineup. So I don't know how much Boston I'm going to get to. I like getting to Boston in like favorable matchups, which yesterday did feel like one. Tonight's matchup I don't think is as favorable. I don't think it's as good of a it's not as good of a matchup. Second half of back-to-back doesn't feel like quite as good of a game environment for Boston tonight. But Pasta very high owned. I do feel better about some of the other chalky spots than I do Pasta. Like if you look at it, in terms of the high owned guys, like I do think Matthews is a better play tonight. I do think Kaprizov's a better play tonight. And I do think Celebrini's a better play tonight. So Pass is the one that I am probably going to get to the least of those 4. But he's been playing extremely well. He's an absolute stud. That line, the underlying metrics are just kind of okay. The matchup is really bad. So I don't really see a need to jam Boston in tonight, particularly that top line. I do feel pretty good about what you get here from Nashville. One tonight matchup is quite good, 78.5, very good matchup. They're going to see a lot of their ice time against this top six of the Bruins, which for the most part has struggled defensively. You gain up a lot of quality looks. The actual goal numbers, maybe not quite as bad, but that'll regress eventually. We really want to focus on these three columns here, and they're giving up a lot of chances. They're giving up a lot of high danger looks, and that top line for Nashville has been spectacular this season. They've been very, very good. Great matchup metrics across the board. They are converting on their chances. They grade out second best on the charts tonight. 17,700, really not seeing that much ownership. Jeremy Swayman has been not good as of late either. He's obviously had some good performances mixed in. Shout out the Detroit Red Wings. But for the most part, if you go back to basically Christmas, in his last 10 starts, he is 6-3-1, but he has just an 891 save percentage and 3.1 goals against per game. So, obviously, he's not terrible, but these are, they're not Jeremy Swayman-esque numbers. So I do think that he's a little gettable. I do have a lot of interest in Nashville, not seeing a lot of ownership. I think they're a really sneaky play tonight. Evangelista under 5K. O'Reilly's one guy who's been great. He just doesn't have the best floor at 5,500, but I still think that you can certainly get there. 17,700. The matchup's good. The underlying metrics are good. And they also have a pretty good power play advantage tonight. We talked about it yesterday. The Bruins really bad on the PK. So I do think that Nashville won. Let me double check before I give you bad information. Yeah, they've tied for the highest power play XG of any line on tonight's slate. So really good 5v5 matchup, nice power play matchup tonight as well. So yeah, a lot of interest for me in Nashville 1. Nashville 2, I think, is always an okay value option. The problem here, matchup's not quite as good. Underlying metrics, though, still continue to be pretty decent. I don't mind them as a value play here. Bunting, Howla, and Stamkos, obviously, they've played well. They're very, very cheap. I don't mind them as a value option, just not the highest upside. I mean, I shouldn't say that because they have shown to have pretty high upside. They've had some smash games this season, so they can get there. And I think they're always just kind of a viable value option for me, especially when they're not seeing much ownership tonight. Let's get to game number 3. The Detroit Red Wings host the LA Kings tonight. The Kings obviously got postponed yesterday, so it was supposed to be the second half of a back-to-back. It is not. Very low implied total here. Two very good defensive teams going head-to-head. Two teams that struggling offensively. The Red Wings much better in the special teams department, and the Kings pretty poor in the special teams department. And that's pretty much the only thing that I'm going to look at in this game is the Detroit power play. It is the number 3 advantage on the night. They have been absolutely spectacular on the power play. The problem here is that you basically need the Red Wings to score on the power play tonight. They are really, really struggling to generate offense at 5v5 right now. They are getting wins basically on the back of the goaltending and the power play. And that is going to be a continuing theme right now until they start getting things going a little bit more at 5v5 like they were in the middle of the season. So yeah, I don't like the Kings to really do much. John Gibson's been great. This is a team that has struggled offensively pretty much all season. You take a look at the underlying metrics for the Kings here, not really anything to write home about. So I'm not that interested. This third line still has decent metrics, but it's a really gross sample. There's no Alex Turcotte. You've got Yoel Armia playing down the middle. I mean, this team is they traded Phil Deneau, and then they lose Kopitar, and now they lose Alex Turcotte. I mean, Laferriere has more often than not been a winger in his NHL career, and Yoel Armia has almost never played center. They're down to basically 2 legitimate centers. Laferriere has done a nice job. I'll give him credit. Like, he's obviously got experience playing center, and he's looked okay there, but it's not great. And then their power play sucks, and the Red Wings, have played well defensively at 5v5, even if they, it's just been very low event. And I do think this is going to be a low scoring game. But the one spot is the Red Wings power play. I think, I'm not going to go like all in. Red Wings power play stacks don't really feel like the best. So like Larkin, Raymond, Sider, DeBrincat, Sider, JBR, Sider, like something like that. Those are kind of like the mini stacks I'm going to be targeting. But for the most part, not a lot of ownership coming in this game. And I think it's for a good reason. It does look quite low event and low scoring. Florida and Utah. Still not really sure what to make of this Florida Panthers team. I think obviously, getting Matt Tkachuk back in the lineup, long time coming. So we'll start with them. They grade out 21st best here, the Matt Tkachuk line does. And when you look at the charts, obviously a lot of last year's sample had to be used for any Matt Tkachuk data. They grade out really well. I will say that Bennett and Kachuk, since he's come back in the lineup, have done very little offensively in terms of generating offensive chances. And I don't think I'm quite ready to pay, 6,500 is not terrible, but that just seems pretty pricey going up against a good Utah team for what they've done thus far. So obviously, I think Kachuk's going to round into form eventually, hopefully after the Olympics for our Canadian viewers. But yeah, this game just doesn't feel like a super high scoring affair. I think obviously Vanacek, getting the start does worry me a little bit about fading the Panthers, but he's not been bad. Like, 883 save percentage is not good, but still just a goals against average under 3, which just shows how good Utah has been defensively. They've been outstanding. This isn't a Panthers team that I think is really going offensively right now. Like, I think they're starting to get healthy, right? And like they're going to start to really get going at some point, but I just don't know if this is really the matchup. They have scored 9 goals in their last 2 games, which I think you could look at that and be like, hey, maybe this is the new Florida Panthers. They're back. I'm just not ready to declare that quite yet. The matchups for Florida 1 is the one that I'm going to look at. They're going to see a lot of Utah 3, which is by far their worst defensive line. Florida 1 has pretty good offensive metrics. So that's the one line here on the Panther side I would look at: Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, and Reinhart. But overall, I'm not, super, super interested. On the Utah side of things, like Florida hasn't been very good defensively on F5, but their PK is really good. I think, like I said yesterday, I'm willing to get to Utah 1 as long as they've got these underlying metrics that are just popping off the page. The matchup for them is pretty good. They're going to see a lot of Florida 3, which has struggled defensively. So I think getting to Utah 1 tonight is a sneaky way to, they're only 1% owned, 2% owned. And we've talked about it. Bobrovsky has not been very good. So I think Utah 1, I talked about it being a sneaky play yesterday, but they were in a much more difficult matchup. Like, it was a 4-game slate. You had to try to pick your spots. The Yanni Gord line, very good defensively. Florida 3 does not have good defensive metrics this year. So I think this is a really sneaky play tonight. Bobrovsky's given up at least 3 goals in, what is this, 9 of his last 10 games, 3.8 goals against per game, 840 save percentage. I think Utah 1 is in a really, really sneaky spot tonight. Utah 3 has been very good. Their matchup's much more difficult, though. So for me, kind of a cop-out. Both teams' top lines are probably my preferred plays. They've both got really, really good matchups. I really think that Utah 1 is one of the sneakiest plays overall. Love to see a line inside the top 5, drawn 1%. And then same goes for Florida 1. Both look pretty, to be in pretty good spots tonight and really seeing no ownership at all. So will I be surprised if this is a low-scoring game? No, but that's baked into the ownership. Everyone's expecting it to be a lower scoring game. And I do think that there's an avenue or a pathway for both Utah 1 and Florida 1 to find some success tonight. Florida 1, number 4 power play advantage tonight as well. That's obviously a benefit. So take a look at this. So we obviously got Rodriguez, we got Verhaeghe, and Reinhart. Those are the 3 that we're targeting. You've got Reinhart on the top power play unit. Unfortunately, Verhaeghe and Rodriguez are on the second unit. So not really a whole lot of power play correlation to speak of there. Let's get to game number, 5? I think we're on 5. Yeah, we're on 5. Okay. It is the Montreal Canadiens and the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights, I still think, are just the most difficult team to figure out. I think they're extremely good. From a DFS standpoint, it's like when you buy in, they kind of shit the bed. And when you don't buy in, they explode. The one thing that I'm going to get to here about Vegas tonight that is a huge concern if you plan on building around them is we have no idea what their lineup is going to look like outside of this top line. Riley Smith will get promoted to the top line. That is all we know. These lines come to us as I didn't pull them. I didn't source it, but they come to us as a guest from Danny Webster, reporter out in Vegas. And he basically said, I don't really know. But this is my best guess here. I'll pull up the tweet here from Danny, and we appreciate him getting back to us. He mostly says he doesn't really know what's going on in the second line, which is fair. So let me make it a little bit bigger here. We've got Smith, Eichel, Stone for sure. Then we don't really know what's going to go on from there. Holtz potentially back line up with Martyr and Dorofeyev. Hurdle probably back to the third line center role with Smith moving to the wings. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on building around them. Both teams graded pretty well defensively. I think one way to get to the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, you don't really know what their lines are going to look like, but you do know what their power play is going to look like. And they have the number 2 power play advantage of the night. So I think that that's probably a good route to go. Hurdle Stone Eichel Stone together on the top line. We know that for sure. Probably a safe route to go. Don't mind getting to Vegas 1 as a result. Martyr Dorfeev probably going to be together, or Hurdle Dorfeev probably going to be together. One of those two combinations of some sort. I don't mind those two mini stack options. The problem is if it's Marner and Dorfeev, they've done absolutely nothing at 5v5 without Tomas Hurdle. Like awful, awful, awful. So basically to me, I think it's just kind of Vegas 1. They're very expensive. Eichel at $9,800. Stone's been red hot, so he is $7,800. I think it's an awful price to pay for a guy that's got a lot of regression red flags. So for me, I do think it's a little tricky to get to Vegas tonight, and I just probably won't do a whole lot of it. Bad matchups across the board from Montreal tonight as well. The top line with Texier up there have been fantastic. They are seeing a decent chunk of ownership despite the tough matchup. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Aiden Hill has just not performed well since coming back from injury. So in his 4 games since returning from injury, he's given up 5, 2, 3, and 7 goals. He has an .825 save percentage. So I don't love the matchup, but I don't mind getting to some Montreal one time just because they have been so good at 5v5 with Texier up there, and Hill has struggled. So I don't mind them. I don't love the ownership, if I'm being honest. So that's probably one thing that's kind of going to keep me a little bit cooler on them. But their price tag is okay. The matchup is bleak, but the goaltending for Vegas has been really, really sus. So that's kind of one reason to consider Montreal tonight. Those Vegas lines are kind of gross. Yeah, they're also a total guess. Why is Forsberg $7,100? It's a fair question, and I guess I have volume concerns a little bit with Detroit, but $7,100 Forsberg, going back to that game for a second, does grade it as the best value option on the entire slate. Just seeing 6.7% ownership too, which is like the 5th highest on goal in the slate, 6th, 7th actually. The Red Wings are hot, so I could see them certainly winning that game and Forsberg not being viable. It does feel a little trappy, but 7,100 for Forsberg is pretty easy to click on tonight for sure. Let's get to the next game. We've got New Jersey and Winnipeg, another really low total game here, and 2 teams that I think are very difficult to figure out. The Jets specifically are kind of baffling. You get a nice discount on them tonight, which I think is interesting. The matchup's pretty good. You see about 50% of their about 70% of their ice time coming up against the top 6 of the Devils. One line's good defensively, one line not so much. The problem is with IFL up there, the offensive metrics are starting to erode a little bit, and I think they're tough to trust. But the price tag is much cheaper than we're used to seeing with them. They play a ton. I won't be surprised if they have a solid game, but I am concerned about these underlying metrics. They're just not very good. They still grade out 10th at 16,900. Not seeing much ownership. Jake Allen on the hill. What's Allen done lately? I feel like he's barely played. They've been just riding Markstrom. Allen's been kind of his usual self. Some good games, some bad games. He has given up 4+ goals in, what is this? 3 of his last 6. Giving up 3 goals a game over his last 6, .895 save percentage. Yeah, he's certainly gettable. I don't mind this spot for Winnipeg 1, but not something I'm focusing on. If I'm building one lineup tonight, it's certainly not around them. Building 20 lineups, might mix them in a little bit, 5-10%. With the New Jersey Devils new lines, you've got New Jersey 2 here, grading out as the 3rd best line overall. Their matchup is quite good. Do I have them listed as New Jersey 1 or New Jersey 2? Probably 2, which doesn't feel correct. Okay, so they are New Jersey 2. They have basically an average matchup. They're going to see a lot of Adam Lowry, which I don't know why you would ever do that. That Lowry line's still really good defensively. But these offensive metrics are really good with Meyer and Bratt. Hellebuck getting the start, though. Obviously, he's still very good. So, yeah, I think these are 2 teams that are kind of difficult to figure out. Really hard to pinpoint exactly when they're going to go off. And as a result, I have just like speculative interest in both of them. If you take a look at the recent stretch of games here for New Jersey, they are just not scoring. So again, even with the lineup shuffling, I think both teams are pretty difficult to trust. I agree with the low ownership or the low implied total in this one. I agree with the really big ownership on Hellebuck at 7,200. I think this is a game that the Jets can clearly win. And yeah, the Devils can't score on anyone. So I do think that Hellebuck at 7,200 makes a ton of sense tonight. St. Louis and Dallas up next. Both teams, I mean, these numbers for Dallas are crazy bad. Still good defensively. The Blues pretty good defensively. Jordan Binnington's still shit. The Stars are going to shuffle things around a little bit tonight. They got some slightly new lines. Rokian will move up. I don't even know how to pronounce that name, to be honest with you. Let's make sure we get it right tonight. I've said it before, and I always forget because it is a bit of a tongue twister. It is Justin Ritzkovian. Ritzkovian. It's a tough one. Ritzkovian, Johnson, Ranton, Robertson, Hintz, Bork. I can pronounce those ones, no problem. Ritzkovian, I already blew it. Up on that top line, provides a lot of salary relief tonight. If nothing else, I still have a very difficult time with Dallas 1. Their underlying metrics continue to not make a lot of sense. They're actually getting better, I guess. So, yeah, I think you can get to both of them. Who's got the better matchup tonight? Neither one of them, really. Power play matchup, though, is still very good. Going back to the Devils, Winnipeg, nothing there on the power play tonight. The Blues have the second worst power play advantage. The Stars come in at about 8. They have a nice matchup in terms of like the raw percentages. The Blues are just very disciplined. Dallas is so tricky as well. At this ownership, at these price tags, I think they make a lot of sense with Jordan Binnington getting the start tonight, right? Like he has just been downright terrible. He just started against these Stars in his last outing, gave up 3 goals in a 3-2 loss. He only faced 19 shots, had an 842 save percentage. He has a below 900 save percentage in his last 4 starts. He is 0-4 with an 830 save percentage. These price tags on Dallas are sick, right? I mean, Johnston at 6,900 and Rantanen at 7,100. Sign me up. Robertson down to 84. Hintz at 57. Sign me up. Ritzkovian at 2,600. Might as well stack him in there. 16,600. 16,600 for that line of full stack. Yeah, the matchup's not great. I don't think it matters. This looks like a low event game. The power play's in a good enough spot. Like, I will stack against Jordan Binnington no matter what right now. And these price tags, this ownership are both very interesting on Dallas tonight. I think they're low key. I think they're pretty sneaky. How many times has he faced Dallas this year? Just once? Twice. Oh, he actually had a good game. Both games, he only faced 19 shots. I won't lie to you. That is a concern. The Dallas offense is so all over the place. It is definitely a concern. They can be extremely low event. These Blues can be very good defensively. Like, there are legit concerns there, but that's why they're priced the way that they are, and they are good enough to smash Jordan Binnington. Dallas offense last, 7 games? 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal, 6 goals, 0 goals, 3 goals. It's a concern. That's why they're priced the way they are, and the upside is massive. Minnesota and Chicago. The Wild are the biggest favorites on the slate. They have the highest implied total on the slate at 3.7. They are middle of the pack offensively, good on the power play. The Blackhawks are a terrible hockey team. The Wild, man. I mean, Minnesota won. Grades out number 1 on the charts tonight. Kaprizov is seeing humongous ownership tonight at 20%. Hartman, modest. Zuccarello, modest. I think there's a lot of reason to be interested in the Minnesota Wild tonight. I think the top line, let's just get to it. The top line, the matchup is great. The matchups are going to be great across the board. It's kind of like just really soft matchups here for Minnesota. So they all have good matchups. The underlying metrics for this top line are fantastic. They play a shitload. And they have the number 6 power play advantage tonight. That line is still, at least as of the last game, we don't know for sure that they're going to change or not. Still fully correlated on that top power play unit. Ryan Hartman remaining on the top unit over Joel Eriksson, which is a bonus. So, yeah, a lot to like about Minnesota 1 tonight. Great matchup at 5v5. Fully correlated on the top power play unit. Minnesota 2 grades out a little bit worse. I do think there's probably just some minor time on ice issues with how much Kaprizov and Zuccarello were playing when everybody was banged up, and Hartman as well. So I think you can manually bump up Minnesota 2. The matchup for them very good. The underlying metrics not as good, but still good. The power play, correlation obviously worse. So I think Minnesota 2 is a nice pivot option off of some of that top line chalk. Johansson doesn't do much, but Eriksson and Boldy obviously can pop off, and they're fairly affordable. So I think that Minnesota 1 is clearly the higher upside line. But if you want to fade some of that chalk and still get exposure to Minnesota tonight, I think Minnesota 2 is a great way to do that. This third line basically useless once everybody came back in the lineup tonight. It was an OT game last time, but Kirill 26 minutes, Boldy 23, Zook 23. Yeah, I mean they're just playing so much ice time, it's insane. So yeah, sign me up for Minnesota 1. Where does Kaprizov, not just Kaprizov, but where do these guys grade out in terms of the projection? Kaprizov's 3rd, Boldy's 8th. What about value? I feel like Hartman has got to be up there. Boldy, Hartman. Okay, maybe not. I'm wrong. Okay, Zuccarello's up there. I knew I missed one. He looks good. Hartman, yeah, still not bad. I'm interested. Sign me up. Chicago, not so much, right? This is a bad team going up against a pretty good defensive team. The Wild are really starting to round into form defensively. Frankie Nazar moves up with Connor Bedard tonight. That's somewhat interesting, right? Bedard, 7,900. I don't see myself getting there at all. Which line sees the Bedard line the most? There's not really a lot of hard matching going on. Eriksson is the most notable one. Eriksson going to see about 36%. The Bedard line really struggles defensively. So, yeah, it's basically like avoid the Jason Dickinson line, which they're all going to kind of see a mixture. But the Joel Eriksson line is certainly going to see the most outside of the fourth line. So, yeah, that's the best matchup you can ask for. But it doesn't really matter. These bottom two lines suck defensively too. So, you're going to get a lot of the Kaprizov lineup against the third line, which has got almost as bad defensive metrics. So, yeah, doesn't really matter much, I don't think. Super in on Minnesota tonight. And I'll eat some of that chalk for sure. Let's get to, is this the final game? Second to last game of the night. So this is super interesting, and I'm going to pull it up. One of our Discord members was like, hey, what? It's Tom, by the way, Tom Olson, our resident Vancouver Canucks fan. God bless his soul, asked, what do the charts look like if you use the actual sample for Vancouver 1? Now, I'll show you the sample that I used because I didn't want to nuke the charts, but you can keep this in mind and use it however you feel. It is about a 70-minute sample, which my threshold is usually 100 minutes. It's what I try to use for these samples. These Wowie samples, but I'll read you the numbers and you can make the decisions for yourself because we've talked about this Linus Karlsson, Elias Pettersson, Jake DeBruskline a lot and how they actually have good offensive metrics. And when they break them up, it makes absolutely zero sense. So on the charts, we got a 3.2 expected goals for, a 27 scoring chance for, and a 13 high danger chance for. In the actual Wowies, in these 70 minutes, almost 70 minutes, 69-51 together, they have a 4.99 expected goals for, 45.5 scoring chances for, and 24.9 high danger chances for. They're nearly like doubly as good as the charts say. As a result, they grade out not good. 35th. Now, he asked me, well, what if you use their actual sample size? And I said, let's take a look. So I did. They would grade out 9th. So if you want to play Vancouver 1 tonight, I think there's a reason to do so. It is a ginormous difference. And I think it's fair to expect that they're probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like, I don't think they're going to be able to maintain some of the best rates in the entire league, but they're probably not as good as or as bad as these suggest either. So I would say conservatively, they probably rank here, 15th, somewhere around there, 20th. I don't mind them as a value option. They're seeing a lot of ownership tonight. Askarov has been terrible. If I'm going to play a Vancouver line, it's going to be that line. The rest of the team doesn't really do much offensively, and I feel good enough about those underlying metrics to play Vancouver 1 tonight. It's not the best chalk ever, but I like this game environment, man. This looks like a very fun game, which is hilarious to say. about the Sharks and Canucks. But yeah, one of the highest implied totals of the night, two of the worst defensive teams, two bad penalty kills. There's a lot to like about this hockey game from a DFS standpoint. Is it going to be a fun watch? Probably. Probably going to be a lot of goals scored. A little nervous about these underlying metrics for San Jose 1. This is like the line that they had together at the start of the season where I was like, man, I just can't justify paying for Celebrini. So that gives me some pause. The matchup's pretty good. The second line draws a much more favorable matchup. And it's interesting for a couple of reasons because one, the top line's drawing a lot of ownership, and the second line is drawing almost no ownership. Regenda is just $3,900. He grades out really well again. Wenberg's still on the top power play unit. Foley, I think, is on the top power play unit last I checked. It's hard to memorize all 32 teams. Yeah, he is. Okay. So that nice power play correlation. Pavel Regenda on the second power play unit. He still grades out as a nice value option tonight. Where is he? SJS. Yes, seventh best. Celebrini grades out well. Will Smith grades out well. So from a raw projection standpoint, this line looks good. The matchup looks okay. The underlying metrics are sketchy. The power play is the number one of the night, though. So that is the reason to get to the Sharks' top line. Even if they don't have the best 5v5 play tonight, you got to like what you're going to get from Will Smith and Celebrini on that top power play unit. So that brings them fully back into the conversation. I think San Jose 2 is a little sneaky tonight. You know, some Regenda, Wenberg to Foley, I think is fine. Not in love with it. More of a late slate play for me, or like a ton of lineups play for me. But they look like a kind of interesting value option. And then on the Canucks side, I think it's just really difficult to get to anybody other than Vancouver 1. I will say that Filipino and Lekkerimäki mini stacks are somewhat viable, right? Like Lekkerimäki coming up, he's going to be inserted into the top 6. He's going to be in the top power play unit. He's $2,500. He's always had modest success coming up to the NHL, right? He's a player that has a good shot, that does produce at lower levels. So I don't mind him as a punt option at $2,500, given that he's basically just going to be inserted into Brock Besser's role. Hedo at $4,200. He's, what did he do? What's he done since returning to the lineup? In terms of ice time, it's been good. Yeah. And that's kind of always the one thing that you look at with Hedo is he always plays a ton. 18, 29, and 17 minutes in his first 2 games back. The shot volume has been basically where it was when he got hurt. Very solid 4 shot attempts and 5 shot attempts. I don't mind that as a mini stack either. Very, very cheap. Don't mind getting to them tonight at all. Let's wrap up the show here with the Seattle Kraken and the Washington Capitals. Lower total here. Both teams not very good defensively. The Capitals, man, are reeling. This team is a team that certainly exceeded expectations last year, and I think we're a very popular fade pick this offseason. And yeah, it's been ugly. They have lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they are giving up goals in bunches. Lekkerimäki could see 10 to 12 minutes if he's not playing well is the issue. Yeah, I mean, at $2,500, I think it's worth the gamble. But if Zach were here, he would tell you that Toffoli owns Vancouver. Yeah, he would. He would. And that's why we miss Zach. He's always got his finger on the pulse of who's destroyed people in the past. And I do recall that being the case. That's might as well pull up the numbers here before we move on to this last game. In his career, 24 goals, 44 points in 53 games. Pretty damn good. I don't know about recently, but he is very solid. You know you are bad when San Jose are road favorites. That is true. Power play sucks for the Wild tonight. Chicago has let up a power play goal in 12 games. Yeah, their PK has been very good, right? We talked about that. They don't. It's still the number 6 advantage. The Blackhawks PK is very good, but it's a very good Wild power play. That the Chicago Blackhawks are a very good PK, but they're terrible at 5v5. So I'm not overly concerned about it. And I do think that the Wild, are they going to score a power play goal? I'm not going to bank on it, but I don't think you need to. And then if they do, you're in good shape. Okay, final game. I don't really know what to make of it. I also am not 100% sold on the Capitals lines not changing, but if they don't, the second line grades out well. And I think that that's one line that you can look at tonight and be like, all right, I'm in. Matchup wise, they're not really matching the Stevenson lineup quite as much. Decently, I guess. But this second line for the Capitals is one that we've played a lot, and they're really, really good. So as long as Sardif, Protas, and Wilson remain together at 1% ownership, I think they're a sneaky play tonight. That's probably all I'm going to do with Washington tonight because, again, I'm not 100% sold these lines aren't going to change. Um, and I don't know if I love this game environment really, but matchups, yeah, kind of good across the board. I think Washington 2 is one line that you can expect to stay together, and their metrics are really, really good. So, yeah, I got some line shuffling concerns, but I'll get to them. Sardif's also seeing some power play time too tonight at $4,100. They're just really cheap, or really low owned, excuse me. They're pretty cheap too, but not crazy. So yeah, this matchup looks good enough for them to find success. On the Seattle side of things, pretty good matchups for them as well. Very high event game tonight as well, which isn't seeing much ownership. I've been talking about this top line. I like Beniers and Eberle all season. McCann getting up there really gives them an offensive boost. Their underlying metrics are not amazing, but they're pretty damn good. And the matchup is pretty solid as well. So I don't mind getting to them tonight either. They're seeing the highest ownership of tonight's of this game tonight. 14,500 seems very solid for a line that has produced well. They also, look okay on the power play tonight, which is surprising. Power play's been good, but the Capitals' PK has really fallen off. So Seattle looks live again tonight. This is a Capitals team that's just hemorrhaging goals right now. So I don't see a reason to dislike Seattle. They've been coming on offensively, and this top line fully correlates on the top power play unit with Vince Dunn. I think that's the line you play. I don't think you get too cute with it. It's the second line for Washington. It's the first line for Seattle. That's it. That's all for this hockey game. Let's get to the defensemen. Let's get to the goalies. Defensemen tonight. Phil Peronic grades out really, really well. Super interested. He's going to be on the top power play unit. At least he was in the morning skate. $3,800. He is the highest owned defenseman of the night, but he makes so much sense this evening. Morgan Riley also drawing a lot of ownership tonight at 4,100. Sure. Grades out pretty well as well. Matthias Samuelson, always a fine play. Louis Crevier. Jake McCabe against Buffalo. Yeah, you can block some shots tonight for sure. Revenge game narrative. Hampus Lindholm been solid. Just named an Olympian today as well. Congratulations to him. Gustav Forsling. Where's my guy Uvis? Am I typing right now? What's going on? $2,900. Fine with that. Who are the really cheap guys that we should be looking at tonight? Jake Middleton, $2,600. Sure thing. Mason Lohrei, $2,600. Simon Nemec, 31. Who are cheap power play one quarterbacks? We got Uvis, Levshunov, Falk, whatever. Ronick, Klingberg. Yeah, Klingberg super interesting tonight at 4K as well. Shot block gods of the night. Jake McCabe, Moritz Seider, Colton Parayko, Noah Dobson, Brett Pesce. In terms of who the field is playing, Philip Peronic, Morgan Riley, two highest owned defensemen on the slate as the cheaper end, along with John Klingberg, Justin Falk, and Gustav Forsling, and our guy Uvis. Higher owned guy or higher price guys, you've got Hughes, McAvoy, Yossi, Dahlin, Hudson, Montour, and Sider. Where is Vince Dunn? $3,900. Yeah, I would prefer Dunn over Montour, if I'm being honest, but that's just me. I don't understand why Vince Dunn plays 25 minutes one game and 18 the next. Not the coach. Grubauer revenge game. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. Never going to write off Philip Grubauer ever again. Let's get to the goalies. Speaking of Philip Grubauer, wow, that is way too big. Jesper Wallstedt grades out as the number one goalie overall tonight, the highest applied win percentage at 67.2. I think he's a very safe play. Got some volume concerns, but I think he's a safe play tonight. Gibson, $8,300 seems a little high, but he's been unbelievable. I'm not going to discredit him, just count him tonight at all. He's been unbelievable, and I think it's a very winnable game. He's going to see a decent amount of volume, as he always does, and I think he can have a huge night. Philip Grubauer grades out very well at $7,400. He's getting a lot of ownership, second highest on goalie in the slate. I think it's fine. Winnable game for sure. Thompson at 8K. He hasn't been the sharpest, and that team's just not looking great right now. I don't love Thompson. I don't really love Swayman either. He's been a little sketchy of late. Forsberg, we already talked about. Hellebuck, we already talked about. UPL's it's terrible on the road. Not playing Jordan Binnington. Spencer Knight's interesting. I think you could get down there. I think he's a really interesting chalk busting play tonight. But for me, yeah, Wallstedt and Gibson look really good. Grubauer looks okay. This middle tier is kind of gross, a little too expensive. Forsberg, Hellebuck, Pay down options are great. Um, yeah, I don't mind Ottinger. Just no volume though. Binnington should be $6,500, and then maybe he's clickable. Yeah, true. Hellebuck going to be like 30%. I agree. It's gonna be super high. Um, yeah, I agree with that. I think Hellebuck is gonna be probably at least double, at least 20%. It just makes so much sense. John Gibson, you love to see it as a Red Wings fan, at least. Anyways, let's get tonight's hat trick pick challenge. I mean, I always say, like, if somebody scores a hat trick that nobody picked, we'll just raffle it off. I mean, someone's scoring a hat trick. It's insane. It's all they do is score hat tricks now. So I fully anticipate more hat tricks tonight. Again, no clue why I'm wearing these. Zach isn't here, and I don't need to hear anybody. But my hat trick pick for tonight is going to be. I honestly have no idea. My hat trick pick tonight is going to be. Let's go Mikko Rantanen on Jordan Binnington. I can't believe no one took Matthias Ekholm yesterday. Yeah. The hat tricks are just unbelievable. I saw somebody tweet yesterday. It's like the most hat tricks in NHL history in 1 month or something like that, which is not surprising at all. Okay, let's pull up the. So yeah, if you want to participate in today's hat trick pick challenge, all you gotta do is drop your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. The show ends, and drop your picks in there. Okay, let's bring this back up. Let's get the Inception moment going again. Might as well just show you. It's easier to show you. We have got the links to today's charts. We've got the links to join the Discord. We've got links to Roto Grinders Premium. You get $20 off Roto Grinders Premium, and we have links to Action Network Premium, 20% off Action Network Premium. So that's all in the link in the description. All in the description of the video on YouTube. Make sure you check that out. And with that, yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Hopefully, someone wins a shitload of money tonight. And best of luck. Build some good lineups. Return tomorrow. We did find out today, just before we go, our baby is going to be coming within the next week. So by next Tuesday, I will be a dad of 2. So that is exciting times. But that is going to put the charts in the show on pause for a couple of days at least. So yeah, just always kind of joining the Discord is the easiest way to stay up to date, but possible there's no charts or show tomorrow, all depending. So yeah, very fluid situation with the charts and show for a couple days moving forward. So join the Discord so you can stay in the loop. We also have the DK contest in there as well. It certainly won't pay 100K tonight, but you could win some money in there as well. So anyways, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, I will see you back here probably sometime next week. Until then, cheers and good luck.